Okay, everybody. Well, I'm here back at the car, and I had the service done. And let me tell you something. I'm very glad I had it done, and you'll see why momentarily. Now, as you can see, I did have a little bit more done than originally planned. I did have this pulley replaced. This is the one I pointed out about, and this one was causing the problem, and he was pretty impressed with how well I diagnosed that. So this pulley he replaced, which was causing the problem. All right. And he did also decide to replace this pulley here. This is the pulley, that goes over there. And I'll explain to you why momentarily, why this one was replaced. Now, here's the belt that drove the power steering pump and the water pump. You could see the marks on it, like you would see when it was running. And I did have plans to replace this, actually, because this belt had about, about 7 years and 60,000 miles on it, so I figured, hey, couldn't be a bad time to replace it. Now, the inside of the belt really actually doesn't look all too bad. Let me see if I can get it to focus. The only thing was, I don't know how well it's coming out in the video. It's not coming out at all. Let me move over here or something. All right, doesn't want to focus. Okay, forget it. But I am seeing like what would be not necessarily cracks, but maybe the start of surface cracks. So, there we go. So, maybe that could start to cause issues down the road. Now, I'm trying to get this belt to focus, and it doesn't want to. But, yeah, so I'm starting to see, there you go. Maybe a little bit of surface cracks on it or something. So, it wasn't a bad idea. And this belt obviously drove the, AC compressor and the alternator. And this one's only newer by maybe, I don't know, I'd say 6 or 7 months, if that. So, this one doesn't look quite as bad, but, again, I figured he was already in there, and I got 2 new belts and 2 new pulleys, so it was a pretty good thing that I had done there. Now, we were able to work some things out. So this pulley was indeed the issue, and, we decided to replace the one, I decided to replace the one belt because that was the one that was attached to it. Now, he was trying really hard to find the parts separately, but he really couldn't. So basically, they come in, kits. Usually kits have 2 pulleys, 2 belts, whatever. So we worked something out. So he charged me the parts and labor for that pulley and the belt that goes on it, which is fine. I was expecting to replace that, no problem, But since this came in a kit and that belt came with it, I figured, what the heck, replace them. Now I have 2 brand new pulleys, 2 brand new belts. Really can't be a bad thing. So he only charged me the parts for that pulley and the belt for it. He didn't charge me the labor for it, so that was nice of him. And honestly, the service wasn't all that bad. Nothing I can't make back very quickly when I go to work. So hey, no big deal. So yeah, so let me show you how it looks down here now. Let me lock this light on, okay? So you can see the new pulley down there. That's right there. It's all nice and shiny. Maybe you can see in the video. So that pulley was indeed causing the noise. And it looks like maybe they cleaned the power steering pulley. It looks a little bit cleaner. I don't know, whatever. So he did replace that pulley. And this larger pulley is that one right there. You can see how that one kind of looks brand new there. And what he also did do was, what was it? He did like a wobble test on all the pulleys. Like, he wobbled... or tried to wobble the power steering pump. The water pump's only 2 years old, but hey, why not? The alternator, the AC compressor, those didn't give any problems whatsoever. So they're still nice and solid, which I'm very happy about. So yeah, like I said, I'm very glad I had this service done because the pulley was making noise. But I'll show you something else too as well. All right. So let me go ahead and show you the parts. Or show you more details of the parts, I should say. I already did show you the parts. All right, so as before, here's the power steering pump, water pump belt. Again, doesn't look too bad for its age. CarQuest brand, as you can see. And like I said, maybe just some surface cracks, so, really not a bad thing. The funny thing is, when you see these pulleys out of the engine, they're a lot smaller than you think they are, When I saw the belts, I was like, oh, wow, that's smaller than I thought. So, okay, so there's that belt, tossed on the floor. And here's the alternator power and AC compressor belt. Couldn't find any brand on this belt, but I mean, this belt honestly does feel a little bit more flexible, I should say, than the other belts. So maybe it was a good thing that I had the other one replaced. I don't know if the flexibility of the belt changes over time. Chime in, someone, if you know. But this one does feel a little bit more flexible. So maybe this belt's okay. But whatever. That's how some things come in kits, right? Okay, now I want to show you the best example of them all, okay? So here's the pulley that was still okay. All right, so let me give you an example of what it should do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my index finger through the middle here, okay? And now when I try to spin it, see how nicely that spins? I'll spin it like this. See? Well, this pulley does spin counterclockwise, so you can see the pulley's nice and quiet. Here, listen. See, it makes very little noise, spins very easily. So, and as far as I can tell, I don't feel any wobbling in this pulley. So, this pulley was as old as the replacement belt. So this was about 7 years old and about 60,000 miles on it. So that's what a good one's like. Okay, now the other one. Okay, so this is the pulley that was definitely having issues. Okay, and you can just tell by the metal it's definitely older. This has 19 years and 125,000 miles on it, so I definitely can't say it didn't last a long time. But let me go ahead and show you just what this pulley does, or lack thereof. So index finger through again. Now watch what happens when I try to spin this pulley normally. See that? It's just bouncing back and forth with my index finger. You see that? Do the other direction? Okay. Now listen to this. You hear that? A pulley should not be making that noise. And you can see it doesn't want to turn hardly at all. You believe that? So you can see how hard it is to turn that pulley, and this pulley was definitely bad, as you can see. What honestly amazes me is I know the power behind these engines and everything, but it's like I'm still amazed that this engine could turn this pulley without sacrificing the idle speed too much. I mean, you know, it's more electronic ignition. It has a coil pack, so maybe it tried to compensate for it. I don't know, but not only that, okay, even though the engine could turn this pulley, I'm honestly amazed the belt was not slipping on this pulley. Because like I said, I didn't smell any hot rubber when the engine was running and it was hot and I came home. So the belt definitely wasn't slipping on this pulley, but with how hard it was to turn this pulley, I'm amazed that belt did okay. So the last 2 days after work, I decided to not drive the car. I'm glad I decided to not do that because just my luck, if I chose to keep driving the car with this pulley, I guarantee you on my way to or from work, it would have seized. And again, if that happened, I'd be stranded because I'd have no water pump and you can't run the engine without that. So just one more time here, listen to this. Oh. Yeah, it doesn't even want to turn. Again, I'm amazed the belt was not slipping on here. That really is amazing. Amazing how the power is behind some of these things, huh? So after the car was all done yesterday and I drove home, I ran the air conditioning, well, one, because it was hot outside, but also because, as you know, when you run the air conditioning, the engine has to run the AC compressor, so it puts a little bit more load on, not only the engine, but also the belt itself. So, you know, obviously, it's good to put it under load to make sure it doesn't slip or anything. And when I ran the AC compressor, no slippage, nothing, ran beautifully, nice and solid, everything. And this new belt does have markings on it, which you can see, which I am happy about that, because you can see them run past as the engine runs. And it did great, you know. When I got home, too, I figured it'd be a good time to pop the hood. Everything looked good. Air conditioning was going. Made sure both the fans were running, and they were, so that's good. The only thing I noticed about this pulley, and the old one did the same thing, too, was that it looks like I guess it's the way that the metal is put on the pulley. Like it has like a little bit of a shake to it. The pulley itself is not shaking. I just went down there myself earlier and tried to shake the pulley. It's completely solid, so I'm not worried about that. But it is just interesting how the metal looks on it. It may not come out in the video because of image stabilization, but maybe you'll see what I'm talking about. But aside from that, though, the other one did the same thing, and this is running fine, really. It honestly is. So, again, so glad I replaced that pulley, because it probably would have seized when I really didn't want it to. And just amazing how it handled all that. All right, so one thing I'll do is let's go back out and give the engine a start and see how it sounds now. And of course, before you start an engine, make sure there's no loose parts on it. You don't want those falling off into bad places. Now, just before I start the engine here, here's what it sounded like before I had the pulley replaced. Yeah, you can really hear the noise it was making there, huh? Definitely, that pulley definitely did not sound too happy at all. So now, let's see what it sounds like with the new pulley. And just like last time, this engine is completely cold right now, so it's under the same conditions that it was in the previous video. Yeah, right away, I think you can hear that is a world of a difference. Much quieter than it was last time. And just to show you the stuff running, there's the power steering pump again. There's the new idler pulley running very smoothly and very quiet. And you can see the other drive belt now has some markings on it too. See that? So that's pretty cool. Now they both have them. Yeah, pulley's running great. Yeah, here's the thing I'm talking about. I don't think that's coming out in the video, but just yeah, like the edges of that pulley just kind of go like back and forth. I think it's just the way the metal was molded or whatever the term is or something. But like the belt's running pretty solid. Like I'm not seeing any shake in that belt whatsoever on the alternator and the AC compressor there. So it's probably fine, because like I said, the last pulley did the same thing. And water pump, very important, obviously. And just yeah, like world of a difference, you know, seriously. Really very happy about that. So I mean, yeah, that was the issue. And like I figured that was the issue because, like I had said, 7 years prior, that pulley made a similar sound, and I was hearing the same sound from over here. So I figured, hey, it's the other idler pulley. So, and sure enough, it was. Now, these belts are manually tensioned, okay? They still call them idler pulleys, but basically, on the V6 for the 626, the belts are tensioned by the position of that pulley and also this pulley. On the i4 engine, I believe they're tensioned by the position of the alternator and the power steering pump. That's how you tension those belts. So I don't have an automatic tensioner, which is kind of unfortunate because if the belts ever stretch, it can't really compensate. But at the same time, I almost never had that problem, so I'm not too concerned, honestly. And I mean, tensioners themselves can go bad as well, so I guess that's one thing to consider. But yeah, I mean, wow, just this thing is running so much quieter than it did, really. And I mean, just the fact that that pulley was that hard to turn. I mean, the engine was definitely under a heavier load, I would say. And not only that, it probably had less gas mileage because it had to compensate for that extra stress on it, or load, like I always say. But this was definitely a good service to have done, guys. You know, it really, the end result is fantastic. So now I have, let's see, timing belt is 2 years old, water pump is 2 years old, and both these pulleys are new, and so are both belts. So things should be all good for a while. And they did, again, they did test the other pulleys to make sure they were nice and solid, and they are. So, you know, I'm very, very happy about that. Look at that, the marking on the belt is reflecting off the hose. You see that? That's kind of funny. So, yep, there you have it, guys. Engine is running beautifully. Sorry, I'm kind of sticking around. I just want you to... I know you guys probably like seeing engines run and stuff like that, so... Okay, now you can see the other belt because there's markings. That's cool. So anyway, guys, there you go. Things are much quieter. Engine's running much more smooth. And yes, I should say, I definitely noticed a little bit of... I think there was a little bit of an increase in acceleration yesterday. So... I mean, maybe that pulley was making a difference. I mean, it was, again. But yeah, works great. Everything is good. Engine's running much quieter, running happy, and good new parts for a long while. And I guess that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.